Okay, welcome to Wednesday, the 20th of January. And today we're looking at can I plan a story? So based on the min pins, which we've been reading. So first we're going to look at our spelling rule. So our spelling rule for this week is ly endings. So adding ly on the end of words, generally to create adverbs. So the few rules to remember, most words simply add ly. So most words are nice and straightforward. You just add ly right at the end and that's done. But there are a few endings which require some slightly different rules. So if the word ends in a Y, then that Y changes to an I first, as happens with a lot of endings. So for example, happy, the Y changes to an I and it becomes happily. If the word ends in an IC, and there's more of these words than you'd think, but if the word ends in ick, you add ally, so A-double-L-Y, not just the L-Y. So dramatic will become dramatically. Obviously, you don't say dramatically, you say dramatically. But often when I'm writing it, I'll say in my head dramatically, just so I remember that I'm spelling it that way. And if the word ends in an E, as with a lot of things, you drop the E first, and then you add your Ly, or just the Y if there's already an L there then. So probable becomes probably. Okay, so you can have a look back at those rules as much as you like. But with these words, if you just have a go at adding ly to those words, just pause the video and have a go at following the rules to do that. Okay, so let's have a look. So correct them if you didn't get them right, or a nice big tick if you did. So comic ends in IC, so that'll be comically. Fair is just straightforward. You just add ly, nice and simple. Reasonable ends in an E, so you drop that E and then just add the Y because the L's already there, so reasonably. Joyful is an interesting one because if your L's already at the end, do you add ly? Do you just add a Y? Well, actually, if your L's already there, that's fine. You can just still add ly and you get two L's in your final word, which is absolutely fine. So joyfully, that's fine. Funny, the Y changes to an I, so you get funnily. Basic ends in IC, so that will become basically, basically. And then angry ends in a Y, so that changes to an I, and you just add the ly. So they're all the rules you need to know for adding ly on the end of words. We'll look at some of those tomorrow. That's our spelling rule for the next couple of weeks. Okay, so we were looking at min pins. Now I'm not going to read any more of the min pins today, but I know we haven't finished the story. So what I've done is I've recorded some separate videos of me just reading to the end of the story. They're about 5-10 minutes each. I'm not sure quite how many videos there'll be because I don't know how long it's going to take me to read the rest of the book. But if you want to find out what happens in the book and you want to hear me read it, the videos will just come up on your playlist, one per day probably, and you can just listen to them as and when. But so far, what story we've heard that we're going to base our own story on is this, isn't it? So we had a boy was bored at home. He was dreaming of doing exciting things, looking out the window. And then he goes into a forest, this forest of sin, where he hears a huge monster chase after him. He climbs up a tree and he meets a strange group of people. And then in the end, it's up to you. It's going to be your choice of ending. So it's up to you, really. You can decide to make your story really very much like the min pins. You can pretty much copy the plot line, have it very, very close, just with your ending. Or you can think, right, I'm going to change quite a lot of stuff. I'm going to make it very unique, very much my own story, and change lots of things. So it's kind of up to you, but we're going to have a look at what sort of things you can change and what sort of things we're putting in our story now. So these are the things we want to put in our story. So we want to show the character of the boy. So these are all things which we did earlier on the week or last week. If you look back in your literacy book, you should be able to find like where you've done each of these things. So you want to show the character of the boy. You want to do some good descriptive expanded noun phrases. We want to include some suspense, some powerful verbs. We want some sort of action sequence where he's being chased. And we want some dialogue in there with good speech punctuation. So quite a lot to include. But if we spread it out along the story, we can see that actually it's quite spread out. So we're not thinking about everything all at once. So if we look at where things are going to go, that first paragraph there of your boy at home, all you're doing there is showing that boy's character. You're showing like what he's thinking of doing, what he's thinking when he's looking out the window. The next paragraph's got quite a lot in. So that's when he goes into the forest. That's where you're going to describe it. Some really good descriptive expanded noun phrases. Then he's going to hear this huge monster come in, which is going to be a bit of your suspense we looked at end of last week. And then you're going to have this chase sequence, this action sequence, which is going to include lots of powerful verbs. And then when he meets these people, there's going to be some dialogue. And then obviously your own choice of ending. There's nothing specific to include that. It's just you know, writing what you want to write for that ending. So obviously, as I said before, you don't have to stick exactly the same with everything from the min pins. You can change it as much or as little as you like. So this is what we're going to have a go at. So what I want you to do for today is if you could draw a similar kind of diagram to what I've got here. So a big arrow maybe, and then 4 kind of blocks for 4 sections of your story. You might want to make it 5. You might want to split up going into the forest and the monster chasing him into 2 sections if you think that's quite a big section. It's up to you. But basically, I want your sections of a story there, and I just want you to think about a few questions and write them in those boxes. So here's there are 4 boxes, which hopefully you'll have in your book. And then I just want you to think about for today, what are the answers to some of these questions? What things could you change? And just put those in the box, just in bullet points would be absolutely fine. So you're just planning your own version here. So first thing, now the boy's called Little Billy, but you know, we should probably change that. You can change it to whatever you like. So what is the boy's name? Of course, it doesn't have to be a boy, it could be a girl. So, you know, boy or girl, and what's their name? And again, I sort of written he all the way throughout this because I was thinking about Little Billy in the story, but, you know, change any of those to she, that's absolutely fine. What's he dreaming of doing? So he's looking out the window, what's he dreaming of doing? And then is it outside of it, is it the forest of sin, like in the min pins? Or is it a forest with a different name? Or is it something completely different? Is it some sort of cave? Is it a mountain? Is it a lake? Is it a river? Is it a desert? Like where else could this be? Some kind of swamp, maybe. So maybe you want to change that bit. And then think about the second bit where he goes into this forest. Again, it could be a swamp. You know, what is this place like? What's this mountain like, this river like, this swamp like, this forest like? What sounds does a monster make? Does it breathe smoke and fire like in the min pins? Or does it breathe something else? Is there something else going on? Can it fly? Does it make a different kind of sound? Is it maybe almost completely silent? And how does he escape from it? So in the book, he climbs up that tree, but you might be something completely different. He might escape in a completely different way. There might be some sort of underground tunnel he races down, or he might hide behind something, or there might be a tiny like kind of hole he creeps in that the monster can't get at him. And then he meets the min pins, who are people who live up in like the hollow trees in the forest. Well, what are your people he meets going to be like? Or are they creatures who can talk that he meets? What are they going to be like? Where do they live? Do they live in a hollow tree? Do they live underground somewhere? Do they fly? Whereabouts do they live? And then finally, the last one's completely up to you, really. I mean, what's going to happen in the end? Will he defeat this beast? Will it defeat him? Will he escape? Will he save the people that he met? Maybe his mum's going to come back into him. Maybe his mum's going to save him and said, I told you so. So all of the things completely up to you. So yeah, just have a plan to answer all those questions, just in bullet points, if you like, just in those 4 boxes. So your story's planned. And then next time, we're going to look at putting it together and starting to write it. So thank you. That is it for today. Have a go at that.